is the head out? And they'd be like, no, we saw a bit, but it's not out. And I'd be like, oh gosh, I don't know why I'm crying. It was such a amazing thing to go through, terrifying in a totally different way. Hey gorgeous girl, should we let everybody know your labour story and how you came into the world? Should we tell them? Deal. Hi guys, and a very big welcome back to my channel. So this video is going to be my labour story. I'm going to pop a little trigger warning here because everybody's birth story is very different, and although I think mine is super positive and it brought Jax into the world, I'm aware that some of you might find it hard to listen to, or it might make some of you more nervous for your labour, or it might have the opposite. So please remember you can just stop watching at any time and move on to a different video. But please also remember that I would do this birth over 1,000,000 times if it brought Jax into my life, who by the way is just here. So if you hear any like sniffles, grunting, crying or farting, it's all her, or maybe Stephen. Okay, let's talk labour. So my labour was 39 hours long, which sounds really long, and yes, in my head I thought I was going to have a much shorter labour, but you just never know what's going to happen. So the due date for Jax was the 12th of December and she ended up arriving on the 9th, so she was just over 39 weeks instead of 40. I felt my contractions happen on the Friday around 3 o'clock. I was doing my usual walk with Leon and Stephen. We were walking around Whitlingham, which is about 3 to 4k, and I just felt like this kind of wave, and that really is what it is. If you imagine like a period pain, but if you imagine it kind of slowly creeping up, then getting a little bit more intense and then slowly going back down again, that was what it felt like. And they were kind of, you know, like 10 minutes apart, 15 minutes apart, 30 minutes apart. But I was like, oh babe, I think I'm going in labour now. I had lost the plug, or the mucus plug, or the show as they call it. I think it was 3 days prior, which is basically, it looks like kind of pinkish snot that you just find. So I knew that was happening, and that basically stops all the bacteria and germs getting into the baby. So I knew that with the sign of that coming, baby could be imminent, or it could be like 2 weeks. I hadn't had my waters break. That actually didn't happen till the very end of my labour, but the mucus plug had happened. I knew my contractions had started, and so from that point we got home, and the most important thing for us was that we both stayed as positive and happy and chilled as we could. Now, I had had hypnobirthing lessons. I had also been to a lot of like pregnancy yoga, and I'd really looked up at it with the antenatal classes. And as we all know, oxytocin, which is basically the love drug, it keeps you feeling really good, is very important. You want to have really good hormones during your labor because that helps your body naturally give you pain relief and relax you. The more stressed you are about a labor, the harder it becomes and the more you feel the pain. We all know that. Hi gorgeous, I'm talking about you. So we went home and we had this little app which I think I've still got it on my phone. It basically told us what times the contractions were. So Leon didn't have to count, we just clicked it every time I got one, we'd see what it was, because I don't know if you guys know, but here in the UK, you don't go to the hospital until you're about every 3 minutes contraction. So at this point, I was about every 10 minutes. We went home, I had some toast, some buttery toast. We watched Love Actually because it's Christmas, and then we watched the Michael McIntyre for comedy. I have to say the contractions started to become a lot more painful. More like I kind of need to just kind of go. So we called the hospital to let them know. This was about 9 p.m. So I'd been going for about sort of 5 hours, and they said, they asked to speak to Leon, and Leon chats them, and then they asked to speak to you. And the reason why they asked to speak to you is because if I can technically talk throughout, then I'm probably not at the most progressive stage of labor, because once you're really in labor, you kind of can't talk through it quite so easy because you just need to breathe it out. So they told me to stay at home, to have a bath, to get some sleep, to have a rest. Hi. So I had a bath and listened to some music, and at that point we called my friend Jeanette, who came and took Stephen because we didn't want him to be stressing out, and we didn't know when we were going to go to the hospital or how long it would be. So Jeanette and her daughter came, they came and saw me in the bath, they gave me a hug and some well wishes, and then they took Stephen. And that night was a really long night because my contraction kind of stayed between 7 minutes and 10 minutes. So I didn't really sleep because I couldn't really sleep through it, because it is still, it's not like, it's a pain that is your body. So it's like a period pain. It's not like someone's chopped off your arm, but it's uncomfortable. So I would kind of fall asleep, and I'd wake up and have one, breathe through it, fall asleep again, and that kind of happened. And it was the same the following day. My contractions didn't really go down very low. I think at one point we got them to about 5 minutes in between, and they were much more powerful, but then I would fall asleep and they'd go back up to about 10 minutes. So I was getting a little bit frustrated with myself, and I was like, Leon, this is taking ages, I'm very tired now. My mistake, I'd been drinking a lot of water, but I wasn't really eating enough, because I don't know about you, I don't feel like eating when my body is kind of giving me like a pain. So we then called the hospital. They said to come on in because it might be likely that I've actually dilated more than I think, so to check out. So we wanted to go to the midwife-led unit, which basically means the midwife's taking care of you. You're very much left to yourself. There's a birthing pool, there's the balls, there's everything to play with, and you can try and do it naturally without too much intervention, which is what I wanted because I was low risk. Probably would have had it at home if it wasn't our first baby. I just didn't think it was fair to put that on Leon in case something went wrong. So we went to the hospital, we're super excited, we got in, and they told me I was only 3 centimeters. And at this point I'd been going for 24 hours. So yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was a bit deflated. Also, because I was only at 3 centimeters, the likelihood is that they're going to send me home, and I'm only 10 minutes from the hospital. I didn't want to go home. It felt like I want to stay. I just want to stay in a place and I want to get this done. I want Jax to come out. But I kind of knew they were going to send me home, and they wouldn't let us bring our stuff in because they were kind of thinking we might send them home. So I didn't have like my music, I didn't have, you know, my blanket, my pillow, any of the stuff, our snacks. So I did feel at that point a little bit out of my comfort zone, and I had to really work to stay in that sort of hypnobirthing vibe where I was just breathing, imagining my good place, and feeling very relaxed. But Leon was amazing at that. Hi. Hey. Yeah, this is gonna happen. Hi, gorgeous. She has a little bit of colic, so she just kind of cries out in pain because she's got a little bit of gas going on, but she's just had her tongue tied, unsnipped, so she's feeling a little bit better. So then they left us for 4 hours. We went and got some food from the coffee shop, although I just had some of those hummus chips, which was nice, but again, didn't want to eat it. And it was at this point my body started shaking. And when I say shaking, think shock. So I was kind of doing this uncontrollably, which was not something I ever predicted would happen to me. And I think it was purely I was tired. I had done CrossFit up until, you know, the day before I went into labor. I hadn't slept, I hadn't really eaten enough, which is really poor preparation on my part, but I just wasn't prepared for it to go that way, I guess. So guys, really do make sure you drink enough and eat enough. And my body just started shaking. So I'd have a contraction, I'd shake through it, and then I'd shake afterwards. And that was what really fatigued me, is this constant shaking meant I didn't get the rest. So normally when you go into labor, you'll have a contraction, but then you'll have a little moment to breathe, to recoup, to rest, and then it starts again. But I wasn't getting that, so I was just shaking. It became very difficult for me to hold my back. It felt like I was going to kind of split through the middle. So Leon started, he was incredible. Leon was holding me kind of like a brace every time one happened, which was amazing. But that was what was taking the energy out of me, and that was what was scaring me more, that I was shaking so much. And obviously because I was shaking and I was tired, I also got cold, which is something that always happens to me. If I'm tired, I get cold. So they came to check me, and I got to 5 centimeters. I was gutted because it had taken me 2 more hours to do just, no, 5 more hours to do just 2 more centimeters. And at that point, Leon started to talk to me about, babe, what do you want to do? Do you want to think about an epidural? Do you want to think about more drugs? Because I hadn't taken anything at this point, just some wine gums. They offered me some paracetamol, which I did take, 2 paracetamols, and that's actually all I actually had. And I said to Leon, you know, if I haven't got to the 10 centimeters by the next thing, then perhaps we're going to have to look at what we can do, because I don't think I have the energy to do longer. And it was quite obvious that I didn't. My shaking was getting a lot worse, and I was quite stressed out about it, to be honest. I was trying to breathe through, but it was really hard to breathe when I was shaking. Jax was totally fine. They monitored her heartbeat the whole time, and they were like, she's a very happy baby. She's very low. She's all good to go. Hi. Hold that thought. Not a happy baby now. Hey, what was that for? Gonna let mommy finish the video and then we can have a cuddle. So they ran the bath. I got in the bath. It was lovely. However, because I was so tired, I got cold much quicker, and I wanted to keep turning the heat up in the bath. But obviously you can't have a bath too hot when you have a baby inside. So I couldn't have it at the kind of temperature I wanted, and I just kept falling asleep. Leon was in the bath with me. He was holding my head up. I'd have a contraction, I'd shake, I'd kind of fall asleep in his arms, and that would repeat. Now I thought, oh babe, I'm never gonna make it to 10 centimeters, I'm falling asleep. But when they came back within the next hour, I had done my full 10 centimeters. So the bath had really helped. So definitely, if you can, have the bath. It relaxed me. So then it was time to get Jax out. So as soon as I knew I'd got to 10 centimeters, it was like a whole new world had happened. I then tried a little bit of gas and air because I have to admit it was a pain that I wasn't used to. However, the gas and air made me projectile vomit, and that slowed down my contractions. So we didn't try that again. So it's just the paracetamol I had. So we did the pushing, and I think it was about another hour before Jax was out. Now, with the pushing, I found standing was the best way for me because of gravity. My contractions were not as strong as I wanted them to be, and it was purely because I was tired and shaking. So standing really helped this. I actually ended up on my toes, and I sounded like Xena Warrior Princess. I'd start going, and I go, whoa! Very Xena, noises I will never be able to remake. And Leon, I think, said he saw me in a whole different light. But I don't know if you know this, when you give birth, the head kind of slowly comes out, comes back, slowly comes out, so you see a little bit of it each time, and it gets more. In my own head, I was like, no, just one push and the head's gonna come out. No, that doesn't happen. So that was probably the most stressful part. I was like, is the head out? And they'd be like, no, we saw a bit, but it's not out. And I'd be like, oh gosh. So we kept going, and I stood up, and they then came through because I was at 39 hours, nearly 40 hours. Although baby was happy, I was very tired. And also these ladies wanted to get the baby out before the end of the shift. So they came through and said I had 25 minutes to get Jax out, which was like a light bulb for me. I was like, I'm getting her out because I don't want any intervention. I want to have done it on my own. Let me finish it on my own. So I stood, and it was my fault. This is where my stitches come in. They said to push when there was a contraction. I couldn't really feel any more contractions because I was overtired, and so I pushed. I pushed through my bum like I've never pushed through my bum before, and that was when Jax's head came out. Now, this was probably the scariest part for me because I didn't know what a head was going to feel like when it was out. And when I pushed and her head came out, I was standing up, and quite a lot of blood went on the floor. And because it's a white floor, it looked a lot worse than it actually was. It wasn't even a litre of blood. However, I freaked out because of the feeling of this kind of stretch, which is what it is. It's kind of like a little bit of a sting. And then this blood, I panicked. I had severely injured her. I actually thought perhaps I'd killed her because it just felt very wrong. You know, a head sticking out of your vagina feels very wrong. That's what I thought I'd done. Leon saw the blood, and he was worried that I was hemorrhaging. So we did have a moment of panic between the two of us. I shouted out, help, what do I do? The midwife's like, you're fine, the head's out. She was actually crying and gave a little cough with just her head sticking out, which Leon saw, which he said was a very odd moment. Then we did another big push. She came out, Leon caught her. He then told me that she was a she and not a he, because we did kind of think she might have been a he. And then with the placenta, we let it pulse out, and then he passed her to me, and I had her on my chest, and I laid down. And that moment was just, was just amazing, amazing. Not just amazing because she was here. It was this like ultimate bond with myself and Leon. It was such, I don't know why I'm crying. It was such a amazing thing to go through. Terrifying in a totally different way. Terrifying because it's your body doing something, and you just gotta let it do it. And it's amazing because it really does do it. And you know, then it was just this bond of Leon seeing me with, you know, like blood coming out of me and a head coming out of me and making Xena noises, and he stood by the whole time, totally unfearful. So yeah, so she was on my chest, and he was there, and they were all just telling me how beautiful she is, and I thought she had afro hair. Leon is, his dad's from Trinidad. She had this really curly hair, but apparently it was just the gunk. And I laid down on the bed. Now I then had to go and have stitches done because I had torn, not terribly, it wasn't a 3rd degree tear which would take you to theatre, it was 2nd, but there was quite a lot of tearing, and it was really because I did those 2 pushes without contractions. If I'd stayed in the water, which I would recommend, I don't think that would have happened. However, I was too cold in the water, so I had to get out. And it was fab. They numbed the area and they put the stitches in, and it's now, so Jax is 3 weeks when this video goes up. I was wearing big nappy pads for like 4 days, and now I'm down to normal sanitary pads, towels, and it's all healing really well. So, you know, I mean, I think I asked Leon and he said my vagina looks pretty much the same as it did before. So I don't think you need to worry about that. The stitches are all, they're dissolvable ones, so they just go on their own. And everything, every minute of that labor is worth it. And I did it, guys. I did it on paracetamol and just some wine gums and the support of the amazing team at the hospital and Leon. And it was still, you know, it wasn't the labor I imagined. I imagined a couple of hours in the bath, push, boom, she's here. No, a little bit longer, but she's here, and I would not change it for the world. I'm so happy with it. I would say hypnobirthing is an amazing thing to learn, because I definitely did that for the first day and a half. It was harder to do towards the end just because I was so tired. But had I not had the shakes, I think hypnobirthing could have been used the whole way. However, I will say hypnobirthing is incredible. It's breathing, it's amazing, but it isn't pain relief. So, you know, if you're really feeling a lot of pain, like you're not used to your own body's type of pain, it won't get rid of that, but it will help you be in a different place. You can kind of distract. I don't know what the word is. Distract yourself. That's not the word distract. You know what I mean? Just distract yourself. That's it, distract yourself. I would also say that doing fitness throughout my pregnancy really helped keep me strong. I wouldn't be able to stand up the whole way through that. But I would also say that I'd been working on my pelvic floor quite a lot, and I probably needed to work more on letting my pelvic floor go, because that might have made it easier for me to let her come out, I guess. But so that's my labor story, and I had the most amazing pregnancy. I still wouldn't say I had a bad labor, it was just different, and I've got the most amazing baby as well. So I'm so happy. I'd love to hear your labor stories. I'd love to hear what you guys all found with yours. I hope this was a positive one for you guys to listen to. Honestly, I'm so happy with my story. It's created a bond between me and Leon that I've never imagined having with anyone. And she's here, and I'm so proud of my body for what it can do. So yeah, sorry for getting emotional. Thank you for watching, and I have lots of new videos coming up starting from next week. We're going to do some challenges together because I need your help to get me back on the fitness wagon. Love you guys. Bye.